The last emperor takes the first step towards the heavyweight throne, the Pitbull refuses to go out with a whimper, and Strikeforce kicks off their huge heavyweight Grand Prix tournament. This is the Fight Network's preview of Strikeforce and M1 Global's presentation of Fedor versus Silva. Hey everybody, it's John Pollock here. Welcome to the Fight Network's preview of Strikeforce Fedor versus Silva that's taking place this Saturday night from the Izod Center in East Rutherford, New Jersey. In just a couple of minutes, Robin Black will be here as we break down the entire main card of heavyweight bouts as Strikeforce kicks off their heavyweight Grand Prix tournament. But right now, we're going to be sending you down to East Rutherford, New Jersey, where our own John Ramdeen is at the scene of the heavyweight Grand Prix.
Thanks, John. New Jersey is buzzing with anticipation. Not since the days of Pride Fighting Championships have we seen a tournament of this magnitude. And on Saturday night, the marquee division, the heavyweights, will take center stage right here at the Izod Center in East Rutherford, New Jersey, as we take a closer look at the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix. In one of the sport's most anticipated events of 2011, Strikeforce attempts to replicate the Pride FC tournament format with an American twist, when 8 of the promotion's top heavyweights vie for the title of Grand Prix champion. The Izod Center in East Rutherford, New Jersey will play host to the first round of the tournament and features some of the most dangerous athletes in the world. Fedor Emelianenko will look to rebound from his shocking submission defeat at the hands of World Jiu-Jitsu champion Prix when he meets American top team standout Antonio Bigfoot Silva, who attempts to make it 3 in a row with a victory over the Russian phenom. On the other side of the bracket, a rejuvenated Andrei Arlovski hopes to rebound from a 3-fight skid when he challenges Russian slugger Sergei Kharitonov, one of the dark horses to win the event.
Mizuno in trouble! The big kibosh!
The opposite bracket is just as exciting as the first, as Jiu-Jitsu whiz Fabrizio Verdun looks to capture its second victory over the seemingly unstoppable Alistair Overeem, a man most pundits feel is the favorite to take home the title.
Gut-wrenching knee from the ring, he tags him, it's over!
Despite licensing issues, former UFC heavyweight champion Josh Barnett returns to action.
He opens up with some serious ground and pound here.
When he collides with powerful Minnesota native Brett Rogers, who has a score to settle with 2 of the tournament's participants. In tournament reserve bout action, exciting undefeated Muay Thai fighter Shane Del Rosario will look to put the division on notice when he faces off against resilient WEC veteran and AKA student Lavar Big Johnson in a bout that promises fistic fireworks.
In some ways, this is a classic battle between a striker and a grappler.
Also, 39-year-old heavy-hitting K1 star Ray Sefo squares off against Valentine Overeem, the older brother of Strikeforce heavyweight champion Alistair Overeem. Over the course of the next year, 8 men will battle to prove their worth, but only one will emerge as the heavyweight Grand Prix champion. With a victory, any one of these fighters has an opportunity to be recognized as the best heavyweight in the world. Back to you.
The Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix begins Saturday night with arguably the greatest heavyweight fighter of all time, Fedor Emelianenko, who's in the unfamiliar position of coming off of a loss sustained against Fabrizio Verdun last June. Emelianenko enters this fight with an incredible 31-2 record and a first-round opponent in 15-2 Antonio Bigfoot Silva, who has had his arm raised in his past 2 bouts with Andrei Arlovski and Mike Kyle.
Bigfoot's tough, but it won't count him out. But I think Fedor will win. You know, we'll see how he looks because, like I said, he's been hasn't had too many fights and losing his last fight. But still, you know, he's probably the greatest heavyweight of all time. So I certainly wouldn't count him out. I would like to see how he looks in this fight. You know,
my heart say Fabrizio the Pesão win, but for business, I like the idea they give the opportunity for the Fedor opportunity because Fedor gave me the opportunity to fight him. I like maybe the second round. I like the fight Fedor because everybody like the watch the rematch. Yes, everybody like. Maybe I want the Fedor again, but my heart say Bigfoot because he's my friend.
Cheering a little bit more for Fedor, but who knows? He's a Bigfoot. He's a big dude, you know. And when I fought against him when we were by the cage, and I tried to took him down, he's strong, you know, and. I don't know, in heavyweight division, like everything can be by one punch, you know, and Bigfoot, he has really good, heavy hands, and who knows.
He was a machine built toward the end of the Cold War, designed not for looks, but for efficiency, power, and above all else, performance.
Good night, Arlovski! What a knockout! Fedor continues to reign supreme!
Armed with a military work ethic and unwavering focus, Fedor Emelianenko began his combat journey by winning his first 4 bouts in thrilling fashion before suffering a controversial loss by TKO at the hands of Japanese fighter Tsuyoshi Kosaka, a blemish on his record that would be avenged more than 5 years later. For the next 10 years, the Russian juggernaut would be the talk of the mixed martial arts world. But in the process, he would also be one of the most scrutinized. Throughout his career, the Stereoskol native would defeat some of the most talented and decorated athletes the sport has ever seen, including 5 UFC champions, 2 K1 World Grand Prix champions, as well as 2 Olympic silver medalists, capturing numerous gold medals over the course of a decade, cementing his place as an all-time great. Emelianenko has trained at both the Russian Federation's famed fight clubs, Russian Top Team, and the Red Devil Sports Club, the team he now calls his own. In June of 2010, the 34-year-old Christian would make a rare mistake in his contest with submission specialist Fabricio Verdum, and would shockingly suffer his first legitimate loss in his professional career.
He's tapping! Fedor losing for the first time!
After dealing with the difficult task of contract negotiations, Strikeforce and Emelianenko's management team have come to an agreement that will see the praised athlete enter the heavyweight tournament. Emelianenko feels that in order to stand, you must first fall. More than 7,000 miles from the Russian Federation is the lush tropical country of Brazil. The beautiful South American country is known for its warm climate, world-class beaches, and for helping to build some of the toughest and most talented fighters throughout mixed martial arts brief history. One such fighter is American top team disciple Antonio Silva. Nicknamed Bigfoot, the 6'4" Goliath is starting to make waves after 6 years of competing in the sports marquee division.
There's nothing fake about those right hands being delivered by Antonio Silva.
Throughout that time, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt has amassed key victories over some notable names, including former UFC heavyweight champions Rico Rodriguez and Andrei Arlovski, as well as an impressive TKO victory over American Kickboxing Academy's Mike Kyle.
Taking a page out of Sakuraga's book. Double axe handles and just right hand after right hand. Kyle's out, this fight is over.
The 31-year-old, who suffers from a condition called acromegaly, will have a huge opportunity when he meets the legendary Russian. After capturing the Elite XC heavyweight title against the late Justin Eilers, the 15-2 Brazilian tested positive for a banned substance. Now, more than 2 years later, the dangerously well-rounded Silva poses a major threat to the Grand Prix title.
Oh, this is dangerous. Inside control now. Referee keeping close. It's all over.
But if he makes one mistake against the most ferocious fighter in the sport, who has his back against the wall and his reputation at stake, he could be forced to the bottom of the talent-rich heavyweight division. Joining us now to break down the main card of Strikeforce Fedor versus Silva is Robin Black. Robin, will start off with the main event, Fedor Emelianenko and Antonio Silva. For Fedor, he is coming off of the loss to Fabricio Verdum, a very stoic character in mixed martial arts, and a lot of people looking here at how he does rebound from that loss, the most definitive loss of his career.
This is going to be very interesting. You know, the whole idea that Fedor is the greatest of all time and this unbeatable Russian heavyweight, a lot of people think that's a myth that was developed by just the right opponents and him winning at just the right times. We're going to find out if it is or not when he comes back and he fights Bigfoot Silva.
Now, Antonio Silva is another guy very, very strong off of his back, working with American Top Team, and someone that is very dangerous if Fedor should let himself be reckless, which I thought he was against Verdum, leaving his arm there to be taken.
The one thing about Fedor that you know for a fact is this guy's incredibly mentally strong, and he's going to have to be to come off that loss and face somebody who's capable of beating him in very similar ways. Also, Bigfoot Silva has a 40-pound weight advantage. We're going to have to see how that plays into it. This is going to be a fascinating fight.
This is a huge fight for Antonio Silva. His last 2 fights, we saw him go to a decision with Andrei Arlovski, and then a tougher fight than some expected with Mike Kyle, but coming back to win that fight. I mean, where does Antonio Silva have to exploit Fedor to get the victory?
A lot of people say bad things about that Mike Kyle fight, but I think the fact that he was able to get hurt and come back so definitively says a lot for him in this fight, because Fedor is going to come at him very aggressively, especially in those first couple minutes. Antonio Silva's in this fight for sure, but this is a fight Fedor wants to come in and absolutely destroy him.
I feel Fedor has the more diverse tool set here. Who are you picking to advance in the tournament?
Well, I've always been one of those people who kind of thought Fedor was a little bit overrated, but I'm seeing Fedor coming in here like when he fought Tim Sylvia and throwing that giant overhand right, being really aggressive and knocking out the Bigfoot.
When we come back, we'll take a look at the rest of the card set for Saturday night. Don't go anywhere as the Fight Network's preview of Strikeforce Fedor versus Silva continues. In another opening round Grand Prix bout, former UFC heavyweight champion 15-8 Andrei Arlovski enters this tournament with perhaps the most to prove, having lost his last 3 fights, with all 3 of those opponents in the Grand Prix. He will have that chance Saturday when he meets Golden Glory product Sergei Kharitonov, who will make his Strikeforce debut with a mixed martial arts record of 17-4.
I'm just ready to go. I'm very excited, and I don't know. Like I said, I have to be disciplined. It's not just my opinion; it's opinion also all my trainers. I lost three last fights before even I step in octagon or in the cage, you know, and I hope everything over, and just have to finally show up everything what I still have inside of me, you know, and I had a great camp for this fight, and I'm ready to go.
Lots of fans still rallying behind you. They believe that you're still one of the best heavyweights in the world, definitely one of the fastest, most athletic. Is that the game plan? Use your speed and your athleticism to take him out?
No, like I said, be disciplined and stick with my game plan, you know. And for this fight, excuse me, for this fight also, Greg Jackson gonna be in my corner, and just ready to go. I'm ready to fight tonight, you know. Even I just woke up right now.
You said you trained Greg Jackson for a few weeks. Tell us what that experience was like being in New Mexico.
I trained 3 times already with Greg Jackson in his camp, and so far it was the best camp because at that time in the camp was John Jones, Rashad Evans, Keith Jardine, you know, Tyler East, and it was great. Great sparring partners. It was hard workout, and just I think I was a little bit overtrained, but now I'm feeling great, and I came back in the basic, you know. When the first time I came in the US, I trained like this. I trained maybe even harder because I was hungry, you know, and now I'm just ready to go. I'm very happy. Everything was perfect. Before my trip to New Mexico, I probably had 7-8 weeks in Chicago. I worked with my trainers. After that, 3 weeks in Albuquerque, and I came back after in Chicago. 1 more week I was in Chicago, now here, and I'm happy.
Belarusian kickboxer and Sambo practitioner Andrei Arlovski was once ranked alongside the top competitors in the heavyweight category.
Big right hand, and this one is finished. Andrei Arlovski dropped the bomb.
The Pitbull's ferocious tenacity, coupled with his superior boxing abilities, would peg him as a fan-friendly knockout fighter. This former UFC heavyweight champion would find himself with an opportunity to be the first man to decisively dethrone Fedor Emelianenko. The pugilist used his reach to keep the Emperor at bay.
It's a good strategy. He's trying to take the... Oh, good right hand by Arlovski.
But in false swoop, the 31-year-old entered what would become the beginning of his downward spiral.
Push kick by Arlovski. That's it. Wow. Punch the flying right hand by Fedor Emelianenko.
An unprepared Arlovski would continue his descent. Despite putting his boxing aspirations on hold and changing training camps, the once acclaimed heavyweight could not capitalize. The Pitbull now finds himself cornered with 3 straight losses for the first time in his career. And if he wishes to continue fighting top-level talent, he will have to pull out all of the stops in this heavyweight tournament quarterfinal matchup. However, the man that will be staring at him from the other end is a fellow kickboxer and Sambo specialist. He is the Russian mercenary. A former teammate of Fedor Emelianenko under the Russian top team banner, Kharitonov is a wild card in the tournament since he has previously defeated 2 key participants in Fabricio Verdum and current Strikeforce heavyweight champion Alistair Overeem. The mentally strong paratrooper has improved his striking upon making the jump to the vaunted Golden Glory team.
Arnie! Welcome to K1 officially, Sergei Kharitonov, you freaking monster!
Combining knockout power with his submission base, the Russian may prove to be a stiff test for Arlovski to pass. Desperate for a win, the Greg Jackson student must find a way to defeat an opponent whose strengths are identical.
I will do everything possible to be on top again.
A technical striking clinic will be on display between these 2 Eastern European threats. The Pitbull will have to be mentally prepared to defeat the tactical military man, and a win for either man could restore the confidence that is needed to take on the next stage of the heavyweight tournament. We move over now to the other end of the bracket, and Sergei Kharitonov is going to be taking on Andrei Arlovski, a guy who's coming in with 3 straight losses and no shortage of questions from critics.
Yeah, you're making, I think, the key point, John, here. This is all about Arlovski's mind. How is this guy going to recover from 3 straight losses? He looked terrible against Fedor. He looked terrible against Rogers, and he was just barely in there against Bigfoot Silva. I mean, this guy's mind is everything. When he's at his best, he's a really powerful striker. He's a very, very scary heavyweight, but he hasn't looked like that guy for almost 2.5 years.
And a lot of people very suspicious about his chin. We've seen the knockouts courtesy of Fedor against Brett Rogers. I mean, is his chin shot at this point? Because that really creates a lot of problems when you're going in there with a guy in Sergei Kharitonov.
He got hit very hard by Silva, and he survived and went to a decision. And I think that answers some of those questions about his chin. I think really it's more about his head. This guy's gone and seen a sports psychologist to try to deal with these problems. Not something a Belarusian would normally do. Culturally, this goes against everything that this big athlete has been taught. And he's trying everything to try to come through this and get a win in this fight.
Sergei Kharitonov, a guy that is somewhat unheralded, I think, in this tournament from a lot of critics. He is going into this. We just saw him on the Dynamite show on New Year's Eve defeat Tetsuya Mizuno. Was also part of the K1 World Grand Prix in a non-tournament bout this past December. So he has been very busy in the last 2 months.
And Kharitonov is kind of the opposite. He's a big Russian paratrooper who learned sambo and boxing while in the Russian army. This guy would not be caught dead at a sports psychologist. He's big, aggressive, ornery, and he's going to give Arlovski all he can handle.
I would be shocked if this one gets out of the first round. Will it? And whose arm is going to be raised?
Strangely, I'm confidently picking Arlovski. I think Arlovski, when you see a guy commit that much to trying to turn his career around, you know, I just see this guy coming in here and looking like the Arlovski of old, and on Sunday morning, everybody will be saying Arlovski's back.
Saturday night's card will also feature 3 reserve bouts for the Grand Prix tournament, starting with this intriguing fight between rising star Shane Del Rosario with an undefeated mark of 10-0 fighting out of Team Oyama. On the other side of the cage will be Lavar Big Johnson, another rising prospect with a record of 15-3 and posting a 3-0 mark for the Strikeforce organization. Robin, we now head over to a reserve bout. We're going to see Lavar Johnson fighting out of the American Kickboxing Academy. He's going to be taking on rising prospect Shane Del Rosario. I am very intrigued with this fight. Del Rosario is someone, along with Johnson, who we've seen come up through the challenger system and now being put on a big stage and the potential to go in if someone gets injured in this tournament.
Strikeforce has done a great job developing these young American heavyweights. Del Rosario, this guy, could have easily ended up in the NFL. He's undefeated. He's a kickboxing world champion. I mean, this guy's the real deal. And Johnson, training at American Kickboxing Academy, like you said, he trains with Cain Velasquez every day. These 2 guys are legitimate heavyweights, and they're going to come in there and start banging.
Do you feel this one could go to the ground with Shane Del Rosario? Here's a guy who has actually pulled off an omoplata in a fight before. Do we see any of his submission showcase?
They're going to go at each other. They're going to throw big, solid punches until one guy's lying on the canvas.
And who is that person going to be that is lying down?
I think Shane Del Rosario is going to go undefeated. He's going to continue he's got a meteoric rise. I mean, this guy can go all the way, and I think he's going to knock Johnson out.
In another reserve bout with 2 heavyweights on the fringe of the tournament, 9-1 Chad Griggs will look to build on his upset win over Bobby Lashley last year and dispose of 9-1 Gian Vellante, a heavyweight who has only gotten out of the first round on 1 occasion and fights out of the Belmore Kickboxing Academy. In the third and final reserve bout of the evening, 2 veterans will collide. Converted kickboxer Ray Seffel will make his 3rd trip to the cage as he places his 2-0 record up against 34-year-old Valentin Overeem, a man with a record of 28 wins and 25 losses, and a fighter you would have to go back nearly a decade to when he was fighting the top fighters in the world. We're going to take a short break right now, but when we come back, we're going to check in once again with John Ramsey, who is down in East Rutherford, New Jersey. We're wrapping things up, but right now we want to send you back down to East Rutherford, New Jersey, the site of the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix tournament kicking off this Saturday with our own John Ramsey.
Thanks, John. I'm happy to be joined by the man responsible for the matchmaking for the Strikeforce Heavyweight Tournament, Rich Chow. And Rich, can you just tell us how this came about, all these matchups? It seems like a great job to do. What was the genesis behind it?
Well, truthfully, this was Scott's project from the very beginning. His experience in working with the K1 and doing the tournaments over there in Vegas, through that, he really saw how much people enjoyed tournaments. And I think he's absolutely right. Fight fans and sports fans in general enjoy tournaments. It's a real logical, definitive way to determine who really truly is the best. And so I can't take any of the credit. Truthfully, at the end of the day, Scott was the brainchild behind all of this, and we were just there to support him. And everything just came together, and it looks great on paper now, and I think it's going to play out that way as well.
Now, you say that great on paper. Can you tell us why Alistair Overeem and Fedor are in the same bracket? It seems that for fans, they'd love to see these guys meet in the final. Why did you guys decide to put them in the same bracket?
Well, I think tournaments are really unpredictable. I had experience doing the Rumble on the Rock welterweight Grand Prix a few years ago. And you just never know what's going to happen, and that's the beauty of it. But at the same time, we just wanted to be able to ensure that the fans would get to see the fights that they really, truly wanted to see. I mean, there's no question that that fight's been talked about. Some of these matchups that are set and that could happen earlier than the final are fights that the fans have been talking about for quite some time and on everyone's wish list. So we just wanted to be able to deliver, for the fans.
It's a luxury. It's the heavyweight division, the marquee division in mixed martial arts. We heard Strikeforce also talking about maybe doing more tournaments. Had a fan voting on the last show. Is that something that you're looking to do in the future?
Absolutely. I think this is going to be a real good gauge for us to see how well the tournament plays out for us. And sports fans just love tournaments. It's real easy to follow. And I think it's truly the definitive. I know I said this earlier, but I can't emphasize how much this is really truly a definitive way to crown, a top fighter, and I hope you guys agree.
It all goes down Saturday night, one of the best events of 2011, the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix Tournament. Back to you.
Thanks very much, John. Looks very cold down there in New Jersey. It's not going to be cold, though, this Saturday night, as it's going to be a fire in East Rutherford, New Jersey, courtesy of the Strikeforce Heavyweights. What are you most looking forward to on this card?
Man, you got 2,500 pounds of fight meat fighting on Saturday night. It's going to be very exciting. I think the biggest questions, does Arlovski still matter? Can Arlovski still win? And how is Fedor going to respond from that loss?
He said it. A lot of meat coming up this Saturday night from the Izod Center. We hope you enjoy the fights. On behalf of our crew here at the Fight Network, our crew down in East Rutherford, New Jersey for the fights this Saturday night, as well as Extreme Couture Toronto. He's Robin Black. I'm John Pollock. Enjoy the fights this Saturday night.
Mizuno in trouble. The big kibosh.
Kyle's out.